Hey, everybody, it's Dr. Tim Harrigan. I have Bree on our call here. We're going to go over some of the Vibrant tests with you guys that we've been using for a while. In fact, Bree and I have been meaning to do these for a long time now. We've been using them in our practice quite often with patients. And so they're kind of complex. And that's why we use them, in fact, because most of the traditional methods for gathering information about our bodies, they're honestly just outdated. They're incomplete. For example, when somebody goes to get their thyroid check, Bree, most of the time people bring in blood work that's like maybe 2 or 3 items about the thyroid. That's just not enough information. That's enough information technically to prescribe something to that person. It's not enough information for somebody to address the cause of fixing whatever that thing around the thyroid is causing, though. It's a complex process. So these tests are kind of overwhelming to some people, but there's technically nothing simple about the human body, right? We tell our patients every day that there's every second in our bodies are incredible. I mean, every second our brain is controlling 30,000 billion chemical reactions. Every second that happens, 30,000 billion, 30,000 billion. So when you understand that, you kind of realize how stupid we are actually, right? When we think we understand what's going on in the human body, we don't have a clue. Our brains can't even comprehend what happens in 1 second in our human bodies. So one of the things that we've gotten good at with helping people is, testing, not guessing, because similar to a headache, a thyroid issue, a low back issue, a heart issue, there's hundreds of contributing factors to that symptom. Or hundreds of different causes for that one symptom. So if somebody gets a headache, I don't know if it's because they're dehydrated, or if it's because of a hormonal issue, or it's because of tight muscle in their neck, or it's because of a micronutrient deficiency, or because of this and that. It could be a brain tumor, right? But it'd be silly for us to assume that every person that comes in with a headache has a brain tumor. Well, that doesn't make sense. But the point is, there's hundreds of reasons that contribute to this thing that I call a headache. So without testing, we're treating symptoms. And that's not what I want to do with my health. That's not what I want to do with my family's health. We want to test, not guess, but the body's complex at the same time. So going for a yearly physical, we actually have a video on this. That's one of my pet peeves. I'm not saying don't go for a yearly physical, but when you go in once a year and have 20 to 30 things tested in your body, in your blood, most of those tests are designed for prescriptions, unfortunately. They're not designed to address the cause of a problem. So you go in, I get the 30 blood measurements, my cholesterol, my blood sugar, all those really basic things. They listen to my lungs, my hearts. And then, the doctor sends me home and says, you're healthy, come back next year. So we're just sitting around waiting for things to happen. I'm waiting for my heart attack to finally occur, or I'm waiting for, the big C word diagnosis, or I'm waiting for my headaches to be there for years to finally do something. So what I've done with myself and what we try to teach patients, it works incredibly well. I haven't had a prescription in my life in over 25 years. So you guys help me with this, but I actually get a lot of labs done on myself through different labs, mostly Vibrant. Every quarter, every 3 to 4 months, I literally measure hundreds of things in my body, not because I'm sick, not because I have certain symptoms, but because I would have no clue what my Epstein-Barr numbers are, right, until I get really sick if I don't monitor those at least occasionally. So if I can measure thousands of different things in my body today, what is 30 things once a year going to tell me about myself? Virtually nothing. So what we're doing is waiting for symptoms to occur, which at that point, again, the headache has hundreds of causes. The thyroid issue has hundreds of environmental causes, stress, adrenal fatigue, all those types of things. So your testing that we use is incredible, and it's comprehensive. So we're going to go over a bunch of the different tests here, little chunks, just a few minutes each, to kind of guide you guys to see, why would we use this test? What is getting tested? Who would we use this test on? For what reasons we might use it? And then some of the traditional methods that somebody else might use instead. But I love you guys because it's so comprehensive. It's kind of a user-friendly approach. You guys print out incredible reports based on what the tests are. You're not just simply saying what's high and low all the time. It's more information about my body so I can actually learn and address that stuff in a proactive manner versus, again, waiting for things to get really bad. Then we start doing investigative tests. Maybe after I get diagnosed with lupus or whatever it is, we want to be proactive and not just wait for those things to develop. So let's get into some of these tests now. All right, guys, let's get into the micronutrient test here. There's, Bree, we talk to our patients every day. I say this at least a dozen times a day. The body's very complex. Remember, there's 30,000 billion chemical reactions that occur every second. We don't know anything about our human bodies. What we do know is there's three basic things that can happen. Either we don't have enough of something, so a deficiency of some sort. That could be protein, that could be sodium, that could be water, could be anything, a micronutrients. So a deficiency is not enough. I'm not getting it in my diet, or it's not in my supplement. And over time, maybe I was born with that deficiency, but I'm also not providing it through my lifestyle, maybe. So not enough of something is the first category. The second category is too much of something. In fact, you can have too many vitamins or minerals, especially with isolated synthetic products, which is 95% of what's at the store. I see this all the time with Bree. People come in, they're taking these supplements that they got from health food stores even, and it's isolated high dose synthetic vitamins and minerals that has a pretty label on it that says you're getting 20,000% of your RDA, of your calcium, or whatever it is. People are poisoning their body by not taking the right supplements. So the second category is too much of something, a toxicity. So you could have too much water, right? I've heard of fraternities doing hazing where they have somebody drink 3 gallons of water in an hour, and those kids die because of that, right? So too much of anything. It could be even a good thing. Heavy metals, too many of those. It could be lots of things, but deficiencies or toxicities. The third category is an imbalance. So that could be like a neurological imbalance, a hormonal imbalance. That's all we can do, though. We only have the power to figure out what are the three things going on in my body and constantly work on those, because a calcium deficiency in me may cause a different symptom than a calcium deficiency in you. So if we're using symptoms to guide us, you can't see this stuff. Most people know that you can't see your vitamin D levels. That's why we go every year to get it checked, right? So this test is incredible. This is going to help us with the first two categories, the deficiency problem that we can have in our body, and then the toxicity problem, which is too much of something. So what exactly does this test show us, Bree, and who would consider maybe doing this test?
Yeah. I mean, at Vibrant, we really call this a foundational test. So quite honestly, anyone could benefit from having this test done. Even those that feel like they have a healthy diet already, or maybe they're supplementing already, it can be a really good test to actually show, are you absorbing the nutrients from your food? Just because you're intaking the food does not necessarily mean you're absorbing the nutrients via your gut. Also, if you're taking supplements, like you said, Dr. Tim, is it a good quality supplement? Is it getting into the cell where it needs to be? Those are all questions that can be answered with this test. So it really could be used for, so many of the different symptoms that you see here. So really anyone from, those with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, or autoimmune, anyone with digestive issues, again, because we absorb all of our nutrients through the gut. So if you have gut issues, you probably could have some deficit with nutrients. People that have had weight loss, weight gain, all of those types of things. And digestive disorders as well. So I'll just show you what's tested on this. So we are looking at 38 different nutrients on this panel. And really, truly, I just think that this is vastly different than what most of your traditional providers test for. Most providers are testing for maybe a handful of these, and they only test them in the serum. At Vibrant, with our micronutrient test, we will test all of these nutrients in your serum, or basically what's floating around in your blood. And that tells us how much of that nutrient you have via your diet and your supplementation. So that's only one part of the picture. So that's going to reflect, anything in the last 24 hours that you've been taken.
And Bree, that's super important for people to talk about this every day, because most people don't know what their lab work means. Most medical doctors don't know what the lab work means, right? Yes. If you get this simple things where I'm checking the vitamin D levels or calcium, right? Maybe a couple other things. That's usually what a traditional lab looks like when people bring it into me. So here's a funny example. If I see calcium in my blood, and again, remember, it's one compartment. It's not enough information. So you could have a lot of calcium in the blood, which they may call a certain condition or problem or issue, but they don't know that. So I could be on a really cheap calcium product, and it shows up high in my blood just because I'm not absorbing it. So the funny thing is, most people, whether it's high or low, they still don't know what that means. Is it high because I have an abundance in my body? Or is it, low because it's stored in my tissues and it's there when I'm ready and it's available if I ever need it, but it's not floating around in my blood, right? So people don't know what this means, first of all. So I love that you guys do the intracellular and extracellular, because you need all of that information to really kind of figure out what's going on. It's not that simple as measuring something high or low. So
absolutely. And to that point, Dr. Tim, this is the actual sample report. So this is what every patient would get back that you could review with them. But, this is a great example of why it's important to look at both what's in your serum, but also what is inside the white blood cell, because as we see, those can differ. So if you're just going to your regular doc and they're just running regular blood nutrients and they're saying everything looks good, that could be a different story inside your white blood cell. And it's the white blood cell that really fuels ATP. That's where the cellular processes happen that, make the body be the amazing machine that it is. So if we don't have nutrients inside the white blood cell, that is something that we need to address. So that's incredibly valuable to look at both of those.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so you mentioned healthy diet a little while ago. And so this is another conversation we have often. It is impossible with the way that our world is, even compared to 50 years ago. There's a study that showed in 1940, picture a bowl of salad back in 1940, and I'm eating a salad. They say that to get the same nutrients in that one bowl today in 2023, they say it would take 15 to 20 bowls of salad to equal the nutrients in that bowl. So this is important because I don't care how healthy somebody eats now, it is impossible. And we're talking optimal amounts, not RDAs. RDAs are really simple to get to. Right. RDAs are really based on not getting scurvy or rickets, right? Who gets those anymore anyway? But an RDA can be very low compared to what my optimal range of vitamin D or whatever we're looking at. So it's impossible though. So this test, I feel every human, and you mentioned that too, needs to do this, because I know you're deficient in stuff. I just don't know exactly what. So we can, again, customize, tailor that program to make sure that whatever your genetics and lifestyle are doing, we're filling that void in with supplements. That's the true meaning of supplement, is getting something I'm not getting from a traditional diet, which is impossible to get everything in the optimal amounts now with our foods. So
absolutely. That's a great point. And one other thing that I usually forget to mention, Dr. Tim, is this test is also really good for anyone that's on medications. We often overlook that a lot of medications can actually deplete the body of, those needed nutrients. And a great example is statin medications. To go back to our cardiovascular markers before, when you have certain high cholesterol numbers and lipids, things like that, providers will sometimes put patients on statin drugs to lower that. Well, statin drugs also will lower a CoQ10, and CoQ10 is very much needed in the body. And so that's another way to use this test, is to really just see, are any of the medications that you're on possibly influencing your body's nutrients?
Yeah, and I'll close out with just one more comment, where there's actually a website that you can go to for that information. So it's called mytavin, mytavin.com. So mytavin.com. And it's cool. You can actually plug in different prescriptions, and it's going to tell you what the common deficiencies or what that's going to deplete over time, just looking that up. So look up some of your medications on mytavin.com, and it's going to tell you what you have an even higher tendency to be deficient in, and definitely work on that at least. But also we want to look at the others and fix those as well. So thank you.